determine what kind of life we want to live. Do we want to be in pain? What's interesting when we look at the self is kind of interesting, and John alluded to it. Thank you, John, that was really cool. But yeah, there's a small s and a big S. But the idea of this is when we realize that the self is the divine energy, the big S, if we want to call it that, is the divine energy that's available, that's on call to us at will. It's like when we're in trouble, we pick up the spiritual telephone. It's kind of interesting. It's a cell phone to God. We pick up the phone. And it's got to be clear. You remember when we had 10 or 12 people on the line? It's got to be clear. There can't be anybody else on the line. That's the clutter. And it's got to be clear. And then we put in the call. And the response is always yes. And so that's what this month is all about. And the idea of the self is the realization and awakening that the self is that divine energy that's coming through us, that guides and directs and help us be that 100% of who we are in the moment. And when we look at the self as the small s, and then a situation occurs, what happens to that? When we think we are the body, and that we think we are what's happening to us, what happens? We merge with it. There's no separation with the spirituality and the physical. We are merged into that one idea of the physical. And so we lose the spiritual power that we have. When we look at the big self, the big S, you might say, then it's that spiritual entity that does not connect with and merge with what's going on. It's way beyond and above it. It's that spiritual energy that can flow through us and that allows us to be the 100% that we are. I'm going to close with a couple of things here. I want to close with Rob. Rob loved skiing. He loved it. And he lived for it. And what happened was this story came through my dear friend Steve Wayne. Because Steve Wayne and I were talking about this very issue a couple of days ago, and we get together once in a while and talk about this New Thought belief system. And we were talking about everything we're talking about today, that how important it is to have the awareness of who and what we are. But Steve said something that was really elegant, and I told him today I'm going to mention him because he gets credit for this. He said we need to grow in awareness, but we also need to grow in simplicity. Isn't that interesting? We complicate our lives. It's so complicated that we think that we need to solve all the problems at the physical level. Actually, we are connected to an energy source that doesn't have to work at manifesting. All it does is think the thought and it's manifested. So why complicate the thing by having us interfere with that? And so a story that kind of gets into that idea has to do with Rob, who wrote a book, and he loved to ski. He wrote a book about his experiences, and he calls the book, I think, the Bones Drama, something like that. I forget exactly. But one day he was skiing, and he was going down this mountainside, and skiing, and he loved it, but for some reason he tripped and he fell, and he broke some bones. And he was in excruciating pain, and really into really serious grief. And what he did was something interesting. He didn't go to fear. He didn't go to doubt. He was a religious person, but he went to prayer. And he called forth the spiritual energy that knows all things, that is not subject to anything in the physical. It rises way above it. But he called to that. And he said he found himself in a weird state of grace. When he was praying, all of a sudden it was just like a light shining within his heart. And he found himself standing up, getting up, and he found himself on his feet, putting his feet back into the skis. And he found himself going down the mountain. Bones and all. Broken bones and all. And he said, he came to a realization at that point that he became something that he should have been all along. He became what our dear friend Barbara Marx Hubbard said, that when we get to that point of awareness, where we're using it in the now, she says what emerges is a new humanity. He said, I felt like I became a new humanity, a powerful person. And he says, my life changed forever. And in closing, we can say that there's been some research done to show that we actually need to go through these dynamics in the human experience, that they're good for us, and they provide us the incentive to reach out and to learn more about this higher power we are. And so this doctor, he's a researcher named Alfred Russel Wallace. He was in his lab, and he was observing an emperor butterfly trying to release itself from the cocoon. And he thought, what if I assisted in a little way? What if I helped it to release itself from the cocoon? So what he did was he took a knife and he did a slit. And here's what he said happened then. The butterfly was free of the cocoon, and then it spread its wings, and then it drooped and died. It had been denied the opportunity to experience this excruciating energy of survival. It was denied the pain and the suffering and the things that it had to go through to be strong enough to live in the outside world, and so it died. We're kind of like that. Everything that we face, everything that, and we always say at this center, we say it's all good and it's all God. You're darn right it is, no matter what the situation is. Because everything that's happening to us contributes to us in all ways. What it does, it raises our consciousness of need. We need to go to a higher level of consciousness. We cannot solve a problem at the level of consciousness that it occurs. We need to rise up. And that's the awareness that we're striving for, and to enhance our life and to operate 100% of who we are. And say with me loud and clear.
And so
it is. Thank you.